My name is Jermaine Jones, originally from Fort Wayne, Indiana, Fort Wayne Northrop High School, and been coaching track since about 1997. Originally thought I was going to coach college football, but the Lord decided that he wanted me to coach track instead. It's an interesting process how I ended up doing it, but I don't regret it for 1 second. I enjoyed it a ton. I think the reason why I ended up moving that way because I enjoy the process of developing someone from A to B to C to D and watching them grow, especially coaching the event areas I coach the throws. You get left out to do your thing, and either you're going to bring your coach results or you're not. And I think over the course of my career, I've fallen in love with this is on me to do, period. I've coached Big Ten champions. I've coached Division I All-Americans. I've coached an Olympian, world championship finalist, coached a state qualifier. And I think I've been on, personally, two of the best staffs in my opinion, in Indiana history, both at the beginning of my career and here well into my track career. I definitely consider myself to be a veteran of the sport at this point. But I did have the unique opportunity to be on two very good staffs for the little time I've been in high school.
Who are those staffs that you were with?
So back in the early 2000s, maybe even 99, I did 1 year of high school. We won state at Fort Wayne Northrop, the girls won state. And I was on the staff with myself, Mike Knutson, Bobby Shank, Terry Milton, Charlie Whitfield. I believe Coach Blanks might have been a part of that staff too. You can Google any of those names. They are track legends. Coach Knutson's won several state titles. Matter of fact, Coach Blanks wasn't on that staff because Coach Knutson, I think, took over at the time. And then he ran with a bunch of the girls Fort Wayne Northrop Girls State Championships. I was on the first one when the run took off. And then like Shank is a legend in pole vault, had a Big Ten record in pole vault. His son was a monster pole vaulter, and he coached a ton of kids in Fort Wayne in the vault. And then Terry Milton, who I'm a huge fan of, who's who of sprints and jumps in Fort Wayne over the years. And I've always said, and I've told it to him, you need a college job, bro. And I understand why he hasn't, gone up, but he has been a monster in high school track and field for a long time. And then here on the back end, coming to Warren, again, I've been blessed to be a part of a really strong staff with LaGreta Smith and her husband Steve on the girls' side, and then Giles Davis on the boys' side, and our other staff members that have come along as well that have some young and really, really gritty and grind and like the grind, but Steve is a world-class jumper in his own right. Loretta's got multiple state championships under her belt. And if you look at Giles' resume, he's probably done something I don't know anybody else has done. When he did coach college, for the time he coached college as a part-time coach, he got like regional coach of the year. Who does that part-time? To show you what type of a grinder he is. But then our other staff members are very, very dedicated people who are just there and wanting to see the kids, be the best that they can be. But those couple, I mean, I put them up against anybody and be like, hey, let's go. Yeah. And they're development people. They're not like, okay, you're fast.
Right.
No, like
right.
I've seen Giles take some kids from here to there.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. And we've been trying to get Coach Smith on here. I'm calling her out. We've been calling her, texting her. I'm coming. We haven't gotten her on here yet, so I'm calling her out. So when she
can, I'll say that she got a lot going on. She has some very talented youngins, boy. Her girls, they are talented. Very talented.
I just needed a few minutes though in the evening.
Look, just a few minutes.
That's all we needed was a few minutes.
Got you.
Yes.
But tell us about this journey. You said you started off, you thought you were going to be a football coach, and then you ended up with track. How did that go?
Because with most young boys, I grew up a football, basketball guy, and football being my first love, went to college to play football. Not directly, actually started my college experience athletically my third year in college. That's a whole different story. That's a different podcast. But football was football. I always call football the pound gorilla. But I guess I have to share a little bit of my past of how it happened. My track career started because I was working at McDonald's in Bloomington, Indiana, and my coach, Larry Maddox, who I love to death, came to McDonald's and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Welcome to McDonald's. Like, what does it look like I'm doing? Can I help you?" And so an hour or so later, he came back with a package to Anderson and was just like, "Hey, if I get this back in the mail, I know you want to change your life." Man, I put that in my backpack. I probably didn't look at it for about 5, 6 months. And I went home for the summer. Now, mind you, when I say I was in McDonald's in Bloomington, I wasn't in school. I was taking one class, so that doesn't count. But I went home for the summer and I was manager at a pool, swimming pool. Yes, 250-pound lifeguard. But it fell out my bag while I was doing payroll. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fill this out, see what happens. So I fill it out, stick it in the mail, old school, with no email or no, you know, screenshot this. Nah, we're gonna have to put this whole thing in the mail. And then a couple days later, he called me and was like, "Hey, I got your information. I got it over to admissions office. We got you admitted." I was like, "You got me admitted? You got me admitted to Anderson, private ed?" I was like, "No, you did." He was like, "Yeah, we got you in. Don't get me wrong. There's some things you're gonna have to do." So, he got me in, and pretty much the rest is history. But like he intersected at the right time in my life, and man, he was a blessing out of this world. I could never repay.
Oh, wow. That's great recruitment. He was
Yeah,
he needed
yeah.
some coffee or a meal from McDonald's, and that's really, really
Hey,
dope.
I'm Calvin. Hey, I tell anybody that. I don't care. I love McDonald's. It changed my life.
Yeah. Some of the young ones gonna have to Google that. The
Look,
YouTube
Yeah,
Calvin
really,
commercial.
really.
yeah. But that's
I've
where my
never heard
track
about
career
it.
literally
That's
started.
awesome. That's
That's where my
awesome.
track
And
career
from there,
started.
you would you say that that was the thing that planted the seed after your experience in being a thrower, um, that kind of pushed you towards wanting to be on the other side and coach.
I was always very competitive. I'm from a big family,
Hmm.
so I mean, I'm 11 of 12, so being
Oh
competitive was
wow.
not an issue.
Wow.
Um, but what throwing did for me was at the time, I probably was a better football player than I was a thrower,
Hmm.
but throwing is what got me to Anderson.
Hmm.
So that became my primary sport out of loyalty to Coach Maddox. He's the person that brought me here. So football actually it flipped. Football became extra. But because I didn't know what I didn't know, it drove me to want to know. Like I would literally have our Coach Larry Davies, God rest his soul. I would literally have him take that camera and just be like, "Hey, Coach, man, record that. It looks right if you don't mind." And I was a huge copycat. Like if I thought you looked like you knew what you was doing and you were beating me, and I knew I was bigger, stretcher, stronger, I was like, okay, you doing something I'm not. I now have to figure it out. So that's kind of what drove me to coaching was like when I got out of college, I was still trying to train for football, but in order to train, Dave Spencer, who was the AD at University of St. Francis in Fort Wayne, started a track program, and he was like, "Hey, I'll let you train, I'll let you do whatever you want to do. You just have to go to the meets and coach the throwers, and I'll give you a key to anything you need a key to." And I was like, "Awesome, deal." And from that time, I just slowly started. As I was training for football, I slowly started splitting away from football coaching track because I wasn't going to put these athletes in a position where I'm just kind of halfway doing it just to make sure that
Hmm.
I get done what I want to get done. Like I didn't like the fact that okay, you guys are going to represent St. Francis and you're going to represent me because I'm your coach, and then it's a half blank job, as my dad would say.
Right.
So I quickly was trying to figure out we got to be better at this. And so that kind of is what drove me to continue to attempt to educate myself on what was right and what was wrong. And then more importantly, how do I teach it to my athletes? And that was the big thing that I had to figure out that I was like, okay, I can do some of this stuff. That means absolutely nothing. How can I teach them how to do it? And that's
Hmm.
kind of what drove me.
All right. What so when I know you said that's kind of what drove you and steering you, right? So what was it that what's your philosophy, or what settled in as your core philosophy when it came through? Like now you're a vet now, so you definitely have a philosophy behind what you do. What is that? What does that look like for you?
You have to be a certain level athlete to be a thrower. And jokingly, I say this all the time, and people look at me like, "What?" I was like, "Anybody can run. Can't everybody throw? Like I can get out there and run 100. Now it might take me 16 and a half seconds, but I'm gonna get there." You pick up a discus, you pick up a shot, you can injure yourself before you get the ball off.
Mhm.
So I look for athletes. I don't care what the sport. If I can see that you can move laterally, you can move forward and backwards at a decent rate, then I'm willing to work with you. Like you can't have two left feet and be a thrower. That's gonna be tough.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
gonna be tough. Like most coaches can get you strong. That's really not that difficult. I shouldn't say that. It can be a challenge, but coordination and agility is the trick. That's
Mhm.
that's the one you want to make sure you have in a good thrower.
Mhm.
Because we
So,
go
speaking
through.
of,
Oh,
go,
go.
go.
No,
No, you go, coach. You
I
go.
was just gonna say we coach jumpers, right? Jumpers, hurdlers. So we look at them, we go, hey, you might want to look at throwing because we can tell they have like the skill.
Speed and power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have all the things, all the tools necessary. But I think especially with girls, they may get it's like sometimes it can be a stigma thing. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not a thrower. Well, we ain't
Yeah.
said you was 300
Yeah.
pounds. We just
Right.
said we thought you got a good explosiveness to like
Right.
make it and make some things happen and find you a spot to shine. How do you deal with,
It's a great.
particularly in girls, how do you deal with that
Yeah.
type?
It's a great.
To be honest, this year Olympics made it easy. Google the
Yeah.
Olympic discus champion. Google the hammer champion. Google the shot put champion. They look like any young lady
Mhm.
walking through Warren Central, Pike, North Central, you name it. These are not like hawkingly big females.
Right.
They're really athletic. Okay. Yes, they are strong, but they're also dedicated to their craft. But I mean, yes, there are some big, strong girls out there, and that's okay. But like, I will look at a female, and then because of my time in the sport, I'll start typing. You look like. Let me pull it up. Da, da, da. I have a young lady that I coached at IU, and I show her to my girls at Warren. I'm like, she went to Lawrence Central, just like you, right here on the east side. How come this can't be you? She danced and did all that stuff, and she looked like you. And then here's another one. She went to North Central, looks just like y'all.
Mhm.
So my thing when I'm trying to recruit girls in the high school is I show them what the elite females look like because they're not what the elite females look like when I was throwing. And that's
Mhm.
that's no shot against the throwers from the 90s, but they
Right.
just simply just don't look, the same. It is what it is. The discus champion, Valerie might weigh 160, might. And then the young lady that won the shot, again, if you look at it, you probably think she was a volleyball player,
Mhm.
but she's a monster shot player. So my thing is show them someone that literally looks like them.
Yeah.
Height, weight, everything. Like when you say this is your body type, I share some things with them that probably some other coaches can't. Like I'll show them my girls and I'll tell them, I'm like, guess how much she weighs?
Mhm.
I say, I don't need to know your weight. I'm not interested in that, but I know how much she weighs because I trained her for a long time. Now, I bet you don't weigh more than her. And then they see the pictures and are like, oh. So, and luckily for me, some of my alumni are close by. So, they come in, they're like, she what? I was like, yeah, she threw 59 feet in the shot. Yeah. She threw almost 180. Yeah. And she threw 135 in high school. So show them somebody that they look like. That's the way you kind of reel them in a little bit.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, and that's helpful to us, right? Because we see it, and we don't want to offend anyone in any way because their assumptions about who is in that particular field event. So um, that's really helpful. So, how do you cultivate key areas of your athlete's development, not only on or in the ring and in the field, but also off the field?
Because I'm in high school now, I try to go to their different events, let them know that it's not just about my sport. It's about you. Like if you're going to work with me, you're going to get to know me. I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to be a part of your life. You're going to be a part of my life. You have my number, and my athletes will tell you they can call me anytime. I mean, we joke all the time. I have a lot of guys right now that I've had since they were sophomores. But, I joke with them all the time. Like if they play ball, I'll send them a message. I usually send them a message every week. Hey, good luck. If they did something silly, I'll put it in the group chat to them. Hey, man, how are you going to intercept the ball and then fumble it? Like stuff like that. The girls, I've gone to basketball games. I go to volleyball meets like, hey, let's go. And I say that because in high school, I don't need them to just throw. I need you to be a well-rounded athlete because what I see, it may not be what you want. Of course, my eyes, I've been looking at athletes for 27 years or whatever, but you may not see what I see. So go ahead, play basketball, play volleyball, do soccer, it doesn't matter to me. Just when you come around and get to me, I'll get you ready because you're going to come probably in good shape if you play basketball, if you play football and you're not doing a winter sport. Take that time off. It's cool. And then in a couple of weeks, come to me and then let's go.
Yeah, I like that because you're dealing with athletes.
Yeah,
Right.
you're dealing with athletes.
That's what I'm hearing, and some of them may have other interests. They may not want to do track. They may want to be basketball, right, or volleyball, or whatever it may be. But as long as you're the athlete, I love working with the athlete and not the one sport athlete. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I would say, like people who just do one sport, you're that person. Like you just play soccer, you're a soccer player. If you just do track, you're a track person. But if you do multiple things, you're an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Yep.
athlete in terms of a recruitment scale, for even if you cheer is considered a sport most places. So if you do cheer, you still have that. It's a versatile background, which I like. Now, when
Mm-hmm.
you start dealing with new people, how do you handle like those new people that you just recruited in, those newcomers to the people you have that are vets or people that have worked with you before?
And again, I have a short time in high school, so I'm like 2.5 years in high school. That's my experience. So I treat everybody the same. I mean, I really do. Like the difference is the seniors will pick up what I'm doing quicker than the young people, but the activity I'm doing doesn't change because they're in another sport. So you basically have to coach them up like you would anybody else. Um, so it doesn't change. It's just they'll pick up some of the things quicker than others, but at the same time, it's still shot and it's still discus, it's still throwing, so they're not super familiar with it. So you start from the basics, and then whoever picks it up the quickest, that's fine. I'll move them along a little bit quicker, but what I'm doing doesn't change. Doesn't change at all. I'll spend more time with the young people trying to get them there. Like I have an athlete that just came out for the first time. So, I would explain it, I would break it down a little more to him. And what I do a lot is I try and find something that they're very, very familiar with. Like, you know how to pivot in basketball. Well, this is the same thing. You know, um, I got a really good one I didn't even think of from a coach. Who used the bat to kind of teach hip turning the hip. I was like, oh, I'm still in that all day.
Yeah,
It made total sense because
makes
they
sense. Yeah.
they played baseball before, but when they're throwing the discus, they don't think that. When they're throwing the shot, they don't think that. Coach Davis sent it to me, I believe, from Coach Thurman, and I was like, oh yeah, I like that. I
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah. No
So
reason to recreate the wheel. That I like that.
no, no, not at all.
You've coached a lot of, I mean, you shared a lot of accolades and athletes that you've coached. Is there a particular event that happened this past season? And I know we're gearing up for our indoor and outdoor season, but is there a particular moment or athlete that exceeded what you thought, like how they were going to perform, or either an athlete where they kind of overcame a challenge and were really able to be successful at the end of the season?
Um, I try to be fairly. Usually, I know within about 3 to 5 feet per event what my kids are throwing because I'm training with them every day. And so I always tell them if you throw outside of that window up, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You throw outside of that window down, then we have to figure out what changed.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're, as a coach, to me, if you're paying attention to your athletes, not much should surprise you, technically. Um, with high schoolers, you're dealing with boys and girls breaking up. You're dealing with a bad day at school. Last period teacher, Mr. Jones got on my nerves. So you deal with those issues and you deal with them individually. Because some of them, you're like, hey, man, look, we still got to practice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, look, he's okay. You're beautiful. Don't worry about him. There's gonna be another one. Trust me on this one. Let's get done what we need to get done, and we're cool. So it's a case by case basis. I think high schoolers, that's what they're learning is like whatever you have going on at practice. I mean, outside of practice, when you come to practice, they're still learning like this is your time. This is
Mm-hmm.
what you chose to do, and so that's what I share with them when a crisis comes in. I've had athletes, I've had home life situations just been abysmal, and I'm like, hey man, look, I get it. Whatever you need, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I need an hour and a half of your undivided attention. Give me what you can give me, and then we'll handle what we need to handle. But like, this is for you. Don't mess up what's for you, and I won't let anybody come into this bubble either. So, let's get this done. And they respect that because sometimes they need that protection from like, look, just
Yeah.
everybody kind of back up a bit. But coaching high schoolers, it's fun because the boys are very just. I want to go 1,000 miles an hour all the time, every day. And my females are more like, okay, what did you teach us? Okay, but I think you need both though.
Yes.
I think you need girls to say be technical. You need someone to be technical, and you need somebody to bring that energy when you need it. And so it's a healthy balance
Yes.
between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if Coach, if I could back up a minute here, you said 2.5 years of high school. So we have a gap in here that I wanna get us caught up on because I know the '97, the early '90s, it was St. Francis because you were trying to do the football thing. Where do we find? How do we? What's in the gap there between then and?
So I've been a Division I coach for a long time, throws coach. So my stops have been. Let me get my order correctly. St. Francis, and kind of helped start that program. University of St. Francis in Fort Wayne. Then I went to Ball State for 3 years. I was GA, and then I was the head coach when they axed the program, the men's program.
Mm-hmm.
When I left Ball State, I went out to the University of Richmond in Virginia for 3 years with Stephen Laurie Taylor. They're still there. And then when I left there, I came to IU for 7 years. So from IU, I took some time off. I had some really cool part-time jobs with the NFL and CBS were awesome. And then when I came back, I went to Towson University out in Maryland for a year. And then from there to Wake Forest for 2 seasons, I believe, 2 or 3 seasons at Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And then from there to Purdue. So I've been a few places. What did that song say? I've been around the world, man.
Yeah.
I've been around the world, but it's been an awesome experience. I learned a lot from a lot of people, and it's just been great. I've had some really great athletes at each stop. I had some really good kids at each stop, but I learned a lot. Probably biggest thing I learned in that stop is when I went out to Virginia. To me, that was like leaving home because that was the first time I was really away from home for a long time. As far as the job goes, where I was like, okay, this is me, and I got to figure this thing out. So it was a very cool run. And then when I went from Richmond to IU, that was my first well, I shouldn't say what I consider, but like my ship has come in professionally because I'm in the Big Ten. And I remember calling Coach Maddox, and I was like, "Oh my God, dude, what did I just get myself into?" I taught myself how to
Different.
throw.
It's
Yeah,
different.
Right.
yeah. I taught myself how to throw. I'm self-taught coach, and I'm thinking, I read all these books of all these dudes, and now I'm about to coach against them. I'm like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? But at the end of the day, it's throwing. It's
Mhm.
throwing. Errors are errors. Some just happen faster and are more subtle, and others are glaring. And so once I calm myself down, I was able to do a halfway decent job, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Coach Ware, for having him fill in the gap
Yeah, because I
because
was
that's a lot of great. That's an amazing journey with a lot of amazing experience. So the athletes that you coach, I'm sure are grateful, and even the young men and young women now. I mean, that's a lot. That's a big deal. You humble, and I love it.
and,
Thank
So
you.
so
and
thank
you're
you,
the
Coach
first
Ware.
person in the who ever been on here that done touched both programs. So I was the
Literally,
IU coach was at
and
Purdue.
I'm a
Well,
Purdue. I
hey,
ran track at Purdue. So yeah, yeah. So
I coached at IU, Purdue, Ball State, St. Francis. I interviewed at Notre Dame,
wow.
and I love
Yeah,
Coach Nicholson at I State. I never
Yeah,
coached with him, but yeah, I'm Indiana through and through. Can't nobody say that more than Jermaine Jones.
right.
yeah. I love it. I love it. So how do you keep, again, you got the girls that are more technical and the guys that are like full of energy. How do you help prepare your athletes for big competition?
I talk about every variable. What I mean by that is like you're going to do something in the meet. You're going to. I work with throws, obviously. You're going to throw a foul. So if it's the same foul you threw in practice, there's no need to freak out because you know what the fix is. It's the
Hmm.
same fix in practice. So when it happens, deal with it. I'm going to say something and deal with it. I'm not going to get mad because it's not new. Now, if you do something that is new, then you're overly nervous, and there's really not much I can do that day. Like for whatever reason, you haven't calmed down enough to be able to get your throws off. So that's what I mean about knowing your athletes. If you know about the window your athletes are going to compete in, then to me that brings the nerves down because okay, he knows what to expect or he has expectations. And so it's not so much the competition he's concerned with or she's concerned with, it's Coach Jones's expectation. You can go out, female and throw 33 feet. Well, if that's
Hmm.
what we threw in practice, I'm gonna be completely happy. But if you get up there and you throw 25 feet, I'm like, hey, what's going on?
Hmm. Hmm.
If I get a girl that's, throws 52 feet and she goes and throws 47, I'm like, hey, what are we doing here? Like that's not what we do in practice. So you definitely shouldn't be doing it right now. Like, what's the problem? And so once they understand that, that brings the nerves down because then they throw it in their average. So once you kind of hit your average, let's go.
Hmm.
Let's go. I mean, don't get me wrong, things will happen that'll rattle you because I always say there's going to be somebody out there that's going to be really, really good. You're going to be like, but there's also going to be somebody behind you that's looking at you the same way.
Right.
So don't worry about either one of those. You take care of you. If you're supposed to be conference champion or in that window, then go do that because
Hmm.
your practices and your training says you're that person. If
Hmm.
it says you're going to be top 15, go be top 15. I'm going to be happy with either one because I've watched you train. I don't have the expectations of a 35-foot shot put female that I have of a 52-foot shot put female. That's not fair.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I deal with the stresses of big meets. Like, okay, yes, the meet's big, but haven't we prepared for this? You know, don't you know what you're going to throw? Because we throw it in practice. So don't get nervous. I mean, like you can be nervous. Nerves are a good thing, but you can't be so nervous that you can't get your performance out.
Right.
Then we have a little bit of performance anxiety, and then we have to have, more conversation and all that good stuff. But like I love to give them everything, so when something happens, they're not surprised, because that's what you want to stay away from. You want to stay away from surprises.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because a lot of high schoolers don't bounce back from surprises very well.
They
No.
do not.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I
Oh.
like that because the way it sounds like that's your way of like mentally prepping your athletes to get ready to
Mm-hmm.
perform well, right? So it's everything that happens, you know the fix. Because we're very similar in how we're dealing with it. And I was telling somebody we have our little secret code is if you have to explain it and you get to double digit words, then you're talking too much.
I
So
like that. I like that.
it's just because I mean I think the more rhetoric you give them, the more nervous they get. Because
Yeah.
now they're trying to not only fix what they did, but they're trying to process what you said. So
Right.
if you just keep it short and sweet, then okay. Then we good to go. They know I need to fix this one thing. Everything else is good, right? So if it's too many words, then they're like, what about this? What about this?
Right.
Yes.
So they have
Yes.
the questions that come with it. So
Throwers is hitting the cage and falling. Like those are two big ones. You fell in practice, we all laughed. I probably giggled on the sideline during the meet. So get
Right.
up,
Right.
let's
yeah.
make the adjustment. When you get back in the meet, if you got another throw, go get it. You hit the cage, so what? That's why it's dented now. So why are you surprised? Like, let's
Right.
make the adjustment and keep going.
Right.
Okay.
Playing with the hurdles and the jumps.
Yeah.
You're gonna fall a time or two. You're gonna run into a bar and land on your back. You're
Right.
gonna land wrong, which ideally we don't want in long jump, but you know, yeah.
You
So
talk
that
about the
makes
variables. You talk about the
Right.
variables. So when they happen, you just like, okay, now what?
Right.
right.
We also talk about the fix. The fix. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Cool. Now let me ask you this. I know you do the throws. What's like the parent involvement like for you all? Like, do you encourage that? Are there some parents that's why isn't my kid throwing this week? Or what's that engagement like? How do you handle it? And what do you feel like is in terms of best practices when it comes
I
to parents?
I think I'm in a very unique situation that some parents know a little bit about long jump. Some parents think they know a little bit about sprinting. Some parents think they know a lot about basketball. Some are high school heroes in football. Nobody knows about throwing. So I'll tell you this about my two twins. I have twins. They know I joke with them all the time. The Dungy brothers. I love them to death, and their mom is awesome. We were at a meet last year, and we were throwing. They throw. First thing he does goes over to his mom. I don't know what was said. Doesn't even matter. And did it again. I said, this is going to be a lesson today. We did not have a good day. Did not have a good day. So the next day in practice, I was just like, hey, Dungy, what your mom do for work? Oh, man, she worked for the state. I said, so she's not a throws coach is what you're telling me, right? He was like, all right, coach. He was like, all right, you got me on that one. You got me on that one. And I say that because, again, she's awesome. She knows I'm all in for her boys. But I tell them, hey, look, I'm coaching. I'm
Mm-hmm.
the coach. I don't need any help,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no. I say this with all the respect in the world, and I know I am 100% right. Nobody can tell you better than me within 100 miles of where we're standing. So if you're taking advice from somebody else, they're setting you up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's respectfully, mom, dad. There's very few people that you can go talk to about throwing your next throw that's going to help you more than the person who's watched you throw every day. That's, you know, it's a recipe for destruction. And I tell my parents that, hey, look, I love you. I want you out here. I want you screaming and yelling, but let me coach them.
Mm-hmm.
Let me coach them. Like that's what I'm out here for. And so
Mm-hmm.
if we do that, I can live with any result we get.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Like that asking the occupation. We
Yeah.
got to throw that one in ours because we have that too. But
we had a good laugh about it. And those are great guys. So we laughed about it, and it wasn't an issue. Their mom told them they weren't excited enough. I was like, that's right. Let's go. I just need to see some more energy. I was like, I appreciate that.
if as we close out, Coach, if we were recruiters, and clearly you have coached at a lot of colleges, so you already know how to navigate that. Who should we be on the lookout for this season?
We are young, but I do believe that the two senior boys I have, if they chose to throw in college, I think they make great hammer throwers. They're going to throw shot and discus. The Dungy twins I brought up, they threw shot and discus. I think Tristan Evans on the sprint side, he's last year one of our sprinters. I think he's going to do some big things this year. So I'm really excited about that. But we're fairly young over at Warren right now. So, I told a coach the other day, it's not what we have, is what we've got to create. And I'm okay with that. Like, just come out here, let me do what I do with you. As long as you listen, you got a chance to be successful. And so that's kind of the route we're going. Do we need a few surprises? Absolutely. But I think in a school the size of Warren, there could be a surprise that walk through the door. That is definitely, not out of the range of impossibility, because there are a ton of kids there. So, we could definitely use a few surprises. And then on the girls' side, Warren girls track and field is Warren girls track and field. Like, the Smiths, and the staff, they get it done. I'm just trying to contribute what I can. I think I have a few young people that are going to come out that I'm really excited about, because my thing is potential. Like, if I can see in you something, I'll take care of the rest. But I just need your body to come out first. And so there are a few young ladies walking the hallways in Warren. I'm like, look, just come out. Just come out. We'll have a little video so you can get comfortable with what it looks like and all that. But Warren Central girls track and field is Warren Central girls track and field. So we're gonna be just fine.
We already know. We
know. He talking like, it's like Jordan. Jordan in the 90s.
Right.
It's Jordan. It's Kobe. What we talking about?
we have a plethora of kids to pull from, and then we have really good coaches. We have really good coaches. So I hang my hat on that. We have amazing coaches. I love our entire staff, from our distance coaches, Coach Miller and Coach O'Brien, to the head coaches. Like, these people know what they're doing, and they are 100% dedicated. Like, you can't knock it, cannot knock it. So I tell the kids, I don't know if you're gonna get better than this in any sport. Like, I don't care. Like, put our staff up against any sport. Like, I am that confident in the abilities of our staff. So.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad that's that type of experience.
Yeah, for sure.
We ain't no slouches either. Just so you
know.
Yeah.
It's right. Where I'm like, it's the competitive nature of a sitting here. Like, this is podcast. So let's,
And that's what I love. Like,
It's all. It is. It really is. It's all.
Yeah, because we talk to all the coaches we talk to. It's like, we know track coaches are different. We just we'll share what we know. Right. Help your kids. We do whatever. Right. It's about the overall sport, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah, it's so dope. Yeah, I love it.
Y'all got a legend over there. He knows that's my guy. I think I might have been in college when he was coaching. I know I was. It's not high school. So I recruited his sons. That's how I aged myself, but so that dude's been around. He's a legend. He better get in the Hall of Fame, man. If not, we'll have a problem.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Well, all right, Coach. We appreciate you joining us.
Yes.
No problem. Sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll have to get around to sometime.
Yeah,
right, not a problem.
For sure. And good luck this season. And definitely, I know, Coach, I'm going to start switching up what I call him. Coach J will be in touch.
Coach J, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been calling all the athletes are like, who are you? And I'm like, in his real work, like, his actual job. It's Dr. J. So I'm like, I'm gonna start saying Coach J.
He's Dr. J. That's right.
Yeah.
No doubt.
It's all good. However we get it done, we get it done.
I know that's
Yeah.
right. True statement.
You're
True
right.
statement.